Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a tutorial on open broadcasting software, otherwise known as OBS. This is the software that we use to live stream masses, events, anything else, and it's really pretty simple to use. The best part is it's free, so anyone can download it and get started live streaming today. Now what you'll see, I'm doing this on a Mac, but the same thing applies to a PC. The program is the same regardless. You'll see the icon here is this black circle with a little tribal tattoo thing in the middle. Let's click on it, and what you're going to see is something like this. Basically, I'll just give you a quick overview of the different parts, and then we'll just jump into how to set up a live stream, because I think that's what you basically are wanting to know if you're watching this. What you see up here is called the program window, and whatever appears in here is what is broadcast out onto the live stream. Here is what we call the scenes panel, and scenes are basically just a collection of sources. You think of a source as a camera feed, or an image, or a movie, a video file, whatever you want to. It's basically what populates the program window up here. So, and we'll get into adding sources later. Here we have what's called the audio mixer. When you add a source, it will pop up here, and you can adjust the volume of it up and down. Pretty self-explanatory. What you're going to want to do, what we do here at the Diocese First is, since we have a 2-camera setup, I like to be able to see both cameras, and you wouldn't be able to do that with this setup. So you'll see on the right, there's a button that says Studio Mode. Click on that. This will separate the top window into a preview and a program window. You'll see later as I demonstrate how to actually connect cameras that you'll be able to set it so that you see one camera feed here and the other camera feed here. And this camera feed on the right is live. So, but before we do that, let's click into our settings window, because this is really sort of the bread and butter of OBS. This is how you set up a live stream, which is really 75% of the work. But it's very simple once you get it set up. So you'll click on that, and it will open up a little multi-tabbed window here. It starts out on General. There's not really anything that you really need to worry about here. All of the defaults are good, and I wouldn't really change anything unless you really had something specific that you wanted to do. This is the big one here. You click on the Stream tab, and this is what tells OBS to stream where you want it to stream. You see, it's by default here, it's set to Restream, which is the service that we in the communications department subscribe to that lets us stream to multiple places at the same time. But say if you didn't want to stream to Restream, it has many presets here where you can send a stream to. Say if you had a YouTube event that you just wanted, it was an unlisted thing for a private audience, you could create a YouTube event and just stream directly to that just by adding your stream key right here. Like say we have already done one, clearly. And I'll explain what a stream key is here in a bit. But basically first, you just want to select where you're streaming to. If you're watching this and you just want to stream to Facebook, just click the Facebook Live. Don't worry about the server, default is fine, and you just add your stream key here. And etc, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, anything, anywhere you want to stream. And you always want to choose RTMP, Real-Time Messaging Protocol. But you don't really need to worry about that too much. I'll go ahead and show you basically what a stream key is. We'll do it in a couple of different ways. So I'm just opening Restream here, the service that we subscribe to. Basically, you'll get this little dashboard, and you'll see I have a couple of destinations pre-populated in here. And but what you want to look at is over here. The stream key is a series of letters and numbers that it's basically like the password for streaming to a certain account. And you want to be very careful about where you share this, because anyone who has a stream key can share to your account. If this key were to get out and somebody countries away from here put this in as their restream stream key, they would be streaming to Catholic Diocese of Arlington, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. So you really just want to keep this to yourself. But basically what you want to do is you just want to copy the stream key, go to OBS, paste it in here, and hit OK. And then OBS knows to send whatever signal is coming from here to Restream. Pretty basic. We'll just go over really quick how to do a YouTube event in case you wanted to do that. We'll go to YouTube Studio here. I'm already signed into the diocese. And click on this where it says Go Live. It's not actually going to go live, but this is how you would create a stream for the future. So we'll just call this test. We'll make it public. Add your description in here. You know, Bishop Burbage celebrates Mass. And we'll hit schedule for later. You know, let's schedule this for Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And since this is a test, I'm actually not going to make it public now that I think about it. I'm just going to make it unlisted. But normally when you would create a stream for the public to view, you would make it public. And if you wanted, you could also upload your thumbnail at this point. You don't have to. You can always do that later. And you can choose whether or not it's made for kids. Basically, the only thing is that if you say this, it will disable live chat, which we've come to do lately. But anyway, long story short, you can create that. And then see here, it gives you a stream key for this event. So if you wanted to do this event and stream to that, you'd open OBS, go to your settings, go to stream, go to YouTube, and just plug in that key. That's all there is to it. So basically, that's all we're going to worry about for there. Because basically, you know, you're likely just going to be streaming to YouTube or to Restream. Or, you know, if you go to Facebook, it's the same general thing. You start a live stream and you look for the stream key and you paste it in. So next up in our settings menu, we have the output. I have it set to advanced. This is what you would normally see. Simple. If it gives you a number other than 2500 kilobytes per second here in the video bitrate, change it to 2500 kilobytes per second. Basically what this is it tells how the higher bitrate you have, the better quality the video is going to look. It also takes a lot more bandwidth and a lot more internet speed to send higher bitrate videos. I've found that this is a good in-between number for a clear-looking stream that doesn't require super fast internet. So anyway, if you look here, you'll see it down here on the Advanced tab, 2500 kilobytes per second. When we are streaming, I always click the rescale output here to 1280 by 720. That basically is saying you're streaming in 720p, the size of the video. Some people stream in 1080p, which is basically a bigger, more high-def video, but it taxes the computer more, and I personally rather stream in lower quality and make sure the computer is 100% can handle it, and you're not going to have any technical issues. And this only other thing you have to worry about on this is CPU usage preset. Now, there's a bunch of options here from ultra fast to placebo. And this tells the program how heavy to tax the CPU on the machine that you're using. I use the highest possible setting because the higher setting, the less less CPU it uses. And that's typically always the bottleneck on streaming is how much can your CPU handle. I like to tax the CPU as little as humanly possible. So just make sure that that's on ultra fast. Audio, we don't really worry about anything on here. There's not really anything you need to worry about other than making sure that the channels are not stereo and making sure the channels are mono. Video tab, this is an important one. Since we said we wanted to stream in 720p, note here it's set to 1080 right now. So we're going to change this to 1280 by 720. Make sure both of these tabs are this. Basically, this changes the window on OBS that you see over here to these dimensions. And also you want to make sure your frame rate is 30 frames a second and not 60 or anything like that. Other than that, you don't really have to worry about hotkeys or really anything in the advanced tab here. So let's hit OK. So now OBS is recognizing that we're streaming in 720p. Say, we'll just do this for example's sake, though you won't really ever have to do this. Say if you wanted to stream to Instagram and you want that vertical video, you would want to go to settings just to illustrate how this changes things. If we change the base resolution to 720 by 1280, you'll see it changes what they call the canvas to be a vertical. Obviously, we don't want that for streaming masses, but that would be how you would alter it in that case. But let's go back to what we were doing. 1280 by 720. Oops. So here you are. This is now basically your OBS is ready to add cameras. And so I'm going to demonstrate for you really quickly how to add cameras as a source on your live stream. So let me go ahead and set up a camera for that purpose. All right, so as we mentioned, now we're going to show you how to add a camera to your OBS so that you can get started live streaming. First thing you need is a camera. Second thing you need to do is turn said camera on like so. And as you can see here, we have a camera. You can maybe kind of see it, the viewfinder, through the camera up there. What we need to connect these are these. These are our Elgato HD60S Plus capture cards. As you can see, there are two ports in it. Here is HDMI in, and this is USB to the computer. There's also a plug here for like a headset if you're gaming or something, and there's also an HDMI out if for some reason you wanted to run that specific feed to a TV or something. I mean, we've never had this happen, but if you wanted to, I mean, it's built for gaming so that you could plug one into your streamer and the other into your TV. But basically, so we're gonna plug this camera into this and then into the computer. So first we need an HDMI cable, of course. Let's plug this into our in here, like so. And the other end, we'll plug into the HDMI out on the camera. Now, this is a camera that has a full-size HDMI output. Other cameras may have smaller, like a mini HDMI or a micro HDMI. It doesn't necessarily matter as long as this end going into the Elgato is a full HDMI. So, our next step is we're going to take this, a USB-C cable, plug it into the USB port on the Elgato, and then plug it into one of our USB-C ins on the computer. You'll see it should light up right there, and that lets you know that it's on, it's got power, it's connected. So, and if you have a Mac, it should automatically recognize this. If you're working on a PC, you might have to install drivers for your capture card. This is where your sources tab is gonna come in handy. So we're gonna go ahead and hit the add button, click video capture device. And we're gonna call this camera 1. And we'll make the source visible so that we can see it. Hit OK. Here it asks us for a device. You click on this and it should auto-populate Game Capture HD 60S Plus. Click on that, and right there you can see, we see the camera feed coming through over the screen. Go ahead and hit OK. Now you can see we have the camera feed from this camera in our preview monitor. If we were to go live now, the stream would have nothing on it, because remember, it's broadcasting what's on the right window here for the program. But as I said, I was going to demonstrate how to have a 2-camera setup, since that's mainly what we're doing nowadays. So I brought a second camera along to demonstrate that purpose. We'll go ahead and turn this one on too, and follow the same setup that we had with the other one. And we're going to need a second Elgato HD 60S Plus for doing this. So we're just going to follow the same steps that we did with the other one. Make sure to plug the HDMI in the HDMI in, and then onto the camera itself, into the HDMI out. See if I can kind of set this over here. It can get pretty crowded wires-wise, so just make sure that you've got enough space. Remember, we put the USB-C into the USB-C out on the Elgato. I'll just set it down over here, so don't mind all of the crazy wires. This one I actually had to use a dongle on because it was just a regular USB-A, and this laptop only has USB-Cs. But so just plug this in and plug it into one of the inputs, and you should soon see it light up there, like so. And so now the computer is recognizing it. As I'd mentioned before, if you have 2 cameras, you really want to have 2 scenes. So let's create a new scene and call this one Cam 2. See, now we have no sources in it. So what we're going to want to do is add a video capture device source for our second camera. We'll call this one Camera 2. And that sounds good. And you'll see here on the devices, now it has a Game Capture number 2 on it. We're going to want to select that one. And as you can see, there's our second camera. So we hit OK. Okay, well, for some reason, it added it in the wrong scene. Sorry about that. Let me just, if that ever happens to you, see, I've accidentally added 2 cameras in the same scene here. I want them in separate. I just hit the add in the new scene, video capture device, and in this case, I can add the existing source from the other one. And so there we have it in the second scene, and I'll delete it out of the first. Oops, sorry. Clicked on the wrong button. We're gonna remove this out of the first scene. Okay, so this is what your feed should look like generally. You have 2 scenes, each with 1 camera in it. And you have one showing to the program and one showing to the preview. If you click on the program is never gonna change because that's what's live on screen. Your preview cam changes based on what scene you're on. So if I click here, I can see this is the same shot. You know, we don't really want that. If we click on the other scene, we can see the second camera moving around. And see, if we move this camera, we're live and doing this live on the air. Which, I mean, you can do, but that's just, that's personal preference. The only reason why you would want to have, be looking at the same source here is for image overlays. Let's add an image source. And we're gonna call this one overlay. And I'm just gonna take a test, sample one that we've previously used. We'll just, we'll throw this random one on screen. And I always hit unload image when not showing. So now you can see we have the same image here, but there's an overlay on it. If we hit this fade tool, it will fade that onto the main feed. And as you can see, if we click into the scene here, we have both of them visible. What this does is it lets you show or hide a source. If we don't want the overlay, we can hide it. Of course, it doesn't change anything on the program window. We'll have to fade to this to fade it out. So click there, like so. But really, that's more advanced OBS than the scope of this tutorial is really going to be covering. Basically, all I really want to show you is how to get 2 cameras onto 2 scenes and how to broadcast it out. So remember that little test that we had created out here in YouTube a little bit ago. We're going to stream to that just to show you how it works. So let's copy our stream key from there. Remember, go to settings. We'll go to the stream. YouTube, show the stream key. Let's just copy and paste it just to make sure that we got it right. Hit OK. Now, the only other thing I would say is with the Mac, you may be wondering, how do I get sound? Basically, you're going to need to hit an audio input capture. And I just call it like camera 1. Because the way we do it is we have one camera that has an XLR feed or something directly into the side of the camera. But for this specific case, we don't have an XLR plugged in, but we're going to go ahead and assume that we do. And the only thing about audio input capture is you see it says Game Capture S+, Game Capture S+. It doesn't differentiate which camera is which, so you may have to switch between the 2 of these to make sure that you've got the right one. And so now you can see we have this audio device. One weird thing about OBS is it should pop this up in the audio mixer here, now that we've created it. But it doesn't. Sometimes you have to close out of the program and reopen it for it to appear in the audio mixer. It's really strange why it does that. And we're going to want to make sure that we add the audio input capture on the second scene too, just to make sure that when we switch to both cameras, we get audio on both shots of this, of whatever camera, the audio that we chose. Because we don't want to get audio from both cameras. We only want audio from one. So as you can see, we have that one camera's audio feed being sent to both. Now, if you wanted to transition between these shots, and you wanted this to be, if you wanted this to be live, I always hit the fade to transition between the 2, and it does that. See, I'm transitioning between the 2 shots pretty simply. You can also use just a straight cut if you don't want the fade. There's a few other options too, but I generally just if I'm doing a mass, I'll use fading because it's a little less jarring on the eyes. And there's also a manual slider if you don't want to, for some reason you want to do it by hand. I just always automate it. So anyway, as we were saying, we're going to stream this to that YouTube event. Since this is a test, we're not going to make it public on our channel, but let's go to OBS. And as we can see here, we've already entered in the stream key, like so, set to YouTube. We're going to go ahead and start streaming. Now, we should see it pop up here on YouTube if we go to this event. We'll just hit the, so you'll see it pop up right there. One thing I didn't do on this event that I normally do, and I should have showed you, is when you create YouTube events, you typically want to hit the enable auto start and enable auto stop. Otherwise, it's not going to actually start to go live until the time you scheduled it for. If you have these scheduled, the event will go live as soon as you start sending it a signal. See, right now we're not actually live, even though we're sending a signal. And I'll kind of hide this so you can kind of see what's going on here. But you should see the program monitor being sent. Like, see, I'll fade that and wait a sec, and it will show up on the stream. There's the fade that we just did. So anyway, so clearly it's seeing what we are sending it from OBS. And now a couple of things you'll want to note here on OBS. I'm using a not very good computer right now, and this is probably good to show you. This green square here tells you the strength of your internet connection. You want it to hover around here, because we set our bit rate around 2,500 bits per second. And so we're sending roughly 2,500 bits per second, which is great. It means our stream is 100% healthy. We got a problem over here, because remember we set our frame rate at 30 frames a second, and our CPU is not able to handle this. It's dropping the frame rate to 19 frames a second, 16 frames a second. Like if I were to come in front of this, it would see how like laggy it is in the frame. It's not good. When you're streaming on the good computer, it won't have this problem with two cameras. But just for the sake of this demonstration, it should show 30 frames a second there on the bottom at all times. Here, this tells you if you've dropped any frames because of your network connection, which we have not. This tells you how long you've been live. And if you're recording, you can also, it'll tell you how long you've been recording too. But basically, that's sort of the basics of how to set up a live stream. Like literally, that's as bare bones as you can get. You know, you can get into plugging XLRs in and figuring out, but how it works is you get cameras, you connect, or whatever really. I mean, you could plug a game system into this and it would appear the same. You plug it into this and you plug this into the computer and it basically lets you stream whatever it's seeing. So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit with your streaming needs. I'll probably be updating this later when I get a little bit more organization to the thoughts, but that should get you through in case you need anything in the meantime. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop it here. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. Thanks. See you soon.